You don't need another strategy. Here's what you actually need to figure out why you can't implement the things that you already know. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storm, former psychologist, now business coach, and I help women just like us to build profitable private practices, usually in under 12 months. Being neurodivergent means I see the patterns that other coaches miss, but it also means I'm a truth teller, so I'm not interested in giving you any business advice that sounds good or might be trending, but doesn't actually work for us. Welcome to the Practice Momentum podcast, where we're going to get your private practice sorted out. Thanks so much for being here, and let's get on with the next episode. I have a client in 20 minutes, guys, so this is going to be a super short episode, but I wanted to get it done today because I'm moving and I just wanted to ensure that you got it. So welcome back to the podcast. Okay, so one of the things that I hear in the discovery calls that I'm doing at the moment is there's a theme coming through around needing clients. And when I'm talking to people about why they don't have them, they're saying to me, well, it's because of cost of living and I'm a counsellor and I'm not on Medicare. So people just can't afford to pay. And also I only work online. And anyway, there's so much that I want to say, and let me just get to the good bits first so you've got them, and then if I've got time I'll go over like the other stuff, let's just say. But I want to just clarify something with you. The reality is that there are many private practices around Australia that are thriving despite cost of living and despite you not being on Medicare or being eligible for rebates with your services. It's actually a boom time in the industry at the moment, whether you want to admit it or not. But the longer you keep the blinkers on, you're going to be missing out on building your practice and helping people. So it's just like real talk this morning, okay? As I said, they're thriving despite all of this that's going on in the world at the moment. When it comes to the belief that, well, I just can't build my practice because I'm only offering online services, let's start there and quickly dispel that one for you. There is so much research that says that online services, depending on who you look at, are sought out by between 50 and 60% of clients. So depending on the research that you're looking at a minimum, it's 50-50. So the point is moot, right? You're not at any disadvantage because you're only working online. So please don't think that you are. Australians are wanting telehealth. And prior to COVID, it was all new, blah, blah, blah. But after COVID, the data shows that between 48 and 55% of Australian counselling clients prefer telehealth, meaning phone or online sessions. And that research was put out by Corvu, okay? They interviewed 1,000 people. 52% of the people that were surveyed said they'd prefer to do online than actually rock up in person. 79% said it was more convenient for them and that's why they wanted it. 67% said it saved them bucket loads of time, and 64% said it made getting help so much more accessible. So yeah, let's clear up that. The other reason was cost of living, and this comes up a lot. And the women are saying to me, well, I'm doing everything. I'm posting on Facebook. I've got a website. You've checked it, blah, 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 blah. But I'm still not getting it. I think it's cost of living. And so I've lowered my fees. And same with the online. You know, I can have a look at people's websites and they've got two different fees for online versus in person. It makes no sense. They're devaluing their own services. But anyway, I don't want to get into ranty mode because I don't have time. And neither do you. Okay. Cost of living, that's where I was. The demand for counselling services for counsellors who do not work under Medicare has been growing despite the cost of living. And there is so much research about this. I don't know why people are buying into the myth that the cost of living's gone up and therefore nobody can afford the services. It is just not what's shown in the latest data. While research shows that roughly 24. The research shows that roughly 20.4% of clients don't go to see a counsellor privately because of the money, right? They will go and access the free services and the community services and the funded services and things like that. But there's still 79.6% of the population that are going and paying for it, all right? Delete the idea from your mind that people can't afford it and that they're not going to pay. The data shows 79.6. I mean, you can pretty well say 80% of the population are still rocking up for counselling. They're still paying. They're still seeking it out. That is not your problem, right? When it comes to getting clients. Also, add to that the private mental health sector. So that's what you're in as a counsellor. You're in private mental health. That sector has actually been growing. It's been expanding, not shrinking. And as a result, it's been modernising the way that it meets the needs of people who are looking for services, right? We've seen that with national standards. We've seen that with all the changes to levels of cover with private health fund providers, some of who didn't cover counselling before, now they're covering it, all those kinds of things, right? Clients are choosing to see a counsellor. What else did I want to say? Because, they want to see a counsellor over going to public health, which is Medicare, because of these 4 reasons. The first one was they tend to get in more quickly, so immediacy of access versus if they had to go and get a mental health care plan, they could be waiting, on a wait list for a little while to see a psych. Generally, depending on where they are, I know conditions apply, but most of the time they can get in pretty quickly, comparatively speaking, to see a counsellor. So there's that. They get to choose who they're going to see. They can't always do that with Medicare stuff. Not only Medicare stuff, it depends on what programs and things like that they're accessing through the public health system. But when they go privately, they get to choose who they want to see, right? They also get long-term consistency with a therapist, so they can see you over the course of their treatment. Whereas if they're in a public funded, like Medicare, or like a public hospital, like a public funded, what do they call it, residential, things like that, they don't get the long-term consistency, right? It's whoever's on the day, or if they have to go back and have repeat visits, they've got to start their stories all over again with new people. And then the 4th reason is they don't get a diagnosis. There is no medical labeling when they come through the private health system to see a counsellor. So delete the idea from your mind that the reason you have clients is because cost of living is getting in the way. Cost of living is not getting in the way. There is 80% of the Australian population still going and paying top dollar to see a counsellor for all those reasons. They get to see you quicker. They get to choose who they're going to work with. They get to work with you over the long term without chopping and changing from practitioner to practitioner, and you're not going to diagnose and label them. These are the advantages of you not working under Medicare. These are the advantages of you working in the private mental health sector, despite everything that might be going on in the world, in the country, right? There is no support for the argument that you can't build a practice because you're only online, and there's no support for you can't build a practice because of cost of living. You think those things are the problem. They are not your problem. The things that are your problem are probably, in my experience, going to be things like you don't have a niche. And I know some of you are rolling your eyes and you're like, here she goes again about the niche. Yes, exactly. Because if you're not known for anything, Google cannot give you your website to somebody who's looking for what you offer, right? If you're saying you do all of the things for all of the people with all of the life transitions, blah, 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 who gives a hoot? Nobody cares. But if you say, I work with grief and loss for, children who've, suffered the loss of a pet, right? That's very specific. People type that in. Those practices fill up more quickly, right? If you start speaking into the things like what I've just said there about immediacy of access, no labeling, no diagnosis, long-term consistency, right? If you start speaking to those things on your website as well, that will definitely help you. Don't worry about it. The other things that are getting in the way is lack of clear messaging. So, the one of the worst things that you can do is in the top part of your website, for example, just say that you help people feel better. Like, that Google can't surface that because it doesn't understand what you mean when you say it, and AI can't surface it. Google's going to surface stuff based on, do you use the same words on your website that your clients are typing into Google? And nobody's typing into Google that they want help with their life transitions. You have to be specific. Get out of your head. Stop thinking you're going to miss out on clients. Stop thinking I'm in no position to turn anybody away because I'm broke and I need clients yesterday and it doesn't make sense. You're getting it wrong. The sooner you become specific, the sooner Google can surface your website when people are looking. And the sooner AI, generative AI, can start referring clients your way because it knows what you do, what you stand for, who you help, and you become an authority in your field. That's not going to happen if you're having watered down messaging. You do not need to lower your prices. You do not need to go and rent a room somewhere if you're just starting out and you don't have revenue coming in yet. Start it from the home office. Start it from the home office. Go online. Build your business. What you might be thinking about the cost of living and the online, it comes about because maybe you're hearing other people talk about that, right? Or maybe your supervisors suggested that. But I am here to say, do not lower your fees, right? Do not, because when you lower your fees, you devalue your service and you attract, like, perhaps not always the right type of client that you want to be working with. Yeah. Be specific. If you do not know what your clients are typing into Google when they're looking for what you do, research it. It's not hard. You spend so much time researching everything else. Research the things that are important and that are going to make a difference. Right? It's very important that you get to know your clients. And this is the other thing, or your audience, who then hopefully become clients. But this is the other thing too. You must keep a record, track, however you want to do it. It doesn't matter. I did a post on my Facebook business page on, what's today, Wednesday? I'm losing track of the days, guys, because my mind is chaos, because my house is chaos at the moment with all the packing and boxes and stuff everywhere. But it was about my version of a Kanban board, right? You can go and look at Kanban board videos on YouTube, but basically it's a visual tracker. I've got this Post-it note. I think I told you about it before. I've got this great big Post-it note. It's the size of a poster on my wall in my office, and it's got some columns. And, the first column is when somebody makes an inquiry. The second one is if they've booked a discovery call, and so on, right up until, their exit point, whether that's, doing a paid product, enrolling in a program, coming to one of my communities, no further action, like all those kinds of things. And then I use a different color Post-it note for the different types of things, right? The different types of programs and services. And it's so easy. I can just pick up the sticky note and move it along to the next column, move it along to the next column. I see right there everything that's happening. It doesn't matter if you're doing it like that. I mean, it's very basic. It's almost an embarrassment to look at. But because in my head, I feel like you think I should be more professional. I'm not saying my Post-it note thing isn't professional, but I did take a photo of it and my handwriting is really bad. So I made my picture all blurry so I didn't embarrass myself. And I was thinking maybe they're expecting me to have like some really professional digital whiteboard type setup. But anyway, you know me, I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm not going to pee in your pocket. That's the Australian expression, isn't it? And tell you something that I'm not doing. I'm always going to tell you what I am doing. And this is what it looks like in reality over here in Mount Eliza, in my little home office here. So it doesn't matter how you do it, right? You could do it with an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet. It doesn't matter, but you have to be tracking. Even if you don't have a client, you still must track, because we need to know why you don't have the client. We have to track if you are posting on socials, if you are blogging, if you are networking. We need to know, what are you doing, so that we can look at, well, what's happening here. So when people say to me, it's cost of living, and then I can say to them, are you tracking your data? And they're like, no, and they roll their eyes and they get grumpy because they don't want to track their data, because they're making it mean something, and they're like getting in their heads about it, and they feel like they're failing and all these kinds of things. But I say, just track it. Just track it. 30 days, track it, come back. And they do, some of them, they do. And then when we've got data, we can see, okay, it's not actually cost of living. Your fees are on your website. You're still getting inquiries, right? And we can see when they're tracking, right? A lot of those inquiries are turning into discovery calls or inquiry calls. And then sometimes we see they're just not converting. So it's nothing to do with the fees, and it's nothing to do with you being online. You got an issue with your discovery call process. That's the problem. Or other people, they'll have clients move through inquiry, and maybe they'll do a discovery call, and then they come for a session, and then there's nothing. Okay, so what's happening in that first session that's causing people to drop off? Like, what's going on with that? It's not the cost of living, and it's not your fees, and it's not that you're not on Medicare, and it's not that you're only operating online. But if you're not understanding and tracking your numbers, you will never know what to fix, and you will remain stuck in this faulty mindset, this faulty belief that it's all these things that are beyond your control. Creating a successful private practice is 100% within your control. It has very little to do with what's happening outside. You get to choose how you're going to respond, how the business is going to respond, how you're going to meet the needs in your area. That's it. And you can't be expected to make it all happen if you don't know how, right? Which is why people like me have jobs, being business coaches, business consultants to therapists, right? Doing the things that we do. If you need help with your practice and you're ready to get some support, whether it's coaching or doing a program or something like that, of course, reach out and let me know. I'll put my details in the show notes. But it is 8:56. I've got exactly 4 minutes to get ready for my clients. So I'm going to wrap up now. Thank you very much for listening. You can go and have a thriving, successful private practice. Don't worry about cost of living. 80% of your clients aren't worried about the cost, all right? It's not the reason why. The reason why is you don't know how, and you're probably not tracking your numbers. That's it. Get some help and sort it out, okay? All right, talk to you soon. Happy Wednesday. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So as you reflect on today's insights, imagine creating real success in your private practice without going down rabbit holes or exhausting yourself with business activities that don't move the needle. With Practice Momentum, you have push of a button help available on demand. It's like having an expert in your pocket ready to guide you whenever you need it. Visit brooklynstorm.com to discover how Practice Momentum can transform your approach to building a thriving practice. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the mind, business, and spirit of private practice success.